Hello. This is Mary Rose Wildfire McGuire, and I'm here with Kim Krause-Schwalm, and I am very excited about doing this interview with her because Kim just had a major milestone regarding email marketing, and this is going to be all about email marketing, and I'm going to be just interviewing her all over the place regarding her newsletter called Copy Insiders, and I have a T-shirt because I was one of the first ones to sign up long time ago. We're talking
Well,
5 years.
it's been more than 5 years, so Mary Rose.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
that's
signed
right.
up in, I want to say October. I can't give you the exact date.
Yeah.
2016.
Oh my
You
gosh.
were the, I think you tied with one other person at the exact same set minute and second for
Yeah.
signing up.
Yes. Yes. Was that back when you also started your Facebook group? I can't remember.
Yes. Yes. It was around that time.
Yep.
Um, I had just been on some kind of Facebook Live, and the person interviewing me was like, well, do you have an email list? Do you have this or that? And prepping for it, I'm like, nope, I don't have any of these things. And so I just kind of scrambled and got together a lead magnet, and someone helped me set up an Aweber account. And I'm like, and I have a landing page now, and here we go. I
That's
didn't really have any grand plans. That was basically how I launched.
Yes. And I think I remembered, oh, my nose is going to itch. Excuse me. Um, I remember when you first, I think somehow you crossed paths with Ben Settle. I'm not sure, like, how did you learn about his email list? I mean, did you just sign up and then say, oh my gosh, this guy is like obnoxious and
No, it's actually kind of a funny story. I can't remember if I was already on his list or not, but it was right around 2016. I think it was, you know, must have been, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2016. It was like earlier in that month. I had gone to AWAI, was actually one of the speakers.
oh,
And there was like this huge dinner, like probably like 30, 40 people, speakers and other attendees. And I was sitting at the end of this table, and right behind me, because we had two large tables, and I was at an end chair, and right behind me was Ben Settle. And I had never met him before. And apparently he was asking, like, I had like Clayton Makepeace and Kevin Rogers, and they're like, who's that? Is that Kim Krause-Schwalm? By the way, it's Kim Krause.
oh, I'm sorry, Kim Krause.
Everybody messes my whole life, don't worry.
Okay.
And so he wanted to meet me, and he had written about me, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years prior, back when people used to do, I forget what this one thing was, Warrior Forum or something. And he had written about who the top female copywriters were, and he had named me, and he had heard about me through Gary Bencivenga's $5,000 seminar, which I actually attended in person. And at one point, Gary called on me and had me stand up, and I was talking about one of my controls at the time. And so anyway, that, Ben had bought those videos, and so that's how he knew about me. So he was like, I got to meet Kim. I got to meet Kim. So we immediately like started butting heads like this, because we are like on two different political ends of the spectrum, and there was a very, very big election going on that year, a presidential election. But all joking, it was all done in good fun, and we ended up seeing each other like the following week at a Titans mastermind event that Brian Kurtz was putting on, that I was in. And I sat next to Ben, and he's like, why aren't you sharing your knowledge and building an email list and having courses? And I was kind of like, I don't know. I'm like, been focusing on cranking out controls, all these years. And but there was, in the back of my mind, I had missed the marketing side. I was always a marketer that could write copy. I never had actually worked as a copywriter before I went freelance back in 1998. I had like a pretty successful 13-year marketing career prior to that. And so I missed that whole, doing other things besides just thinking about how to craft, the best copy. And so the whole idea of running something of my own that would eventually free me up so I would have more time to maybe, I don't know, write those screenplays I want to get to, or do some of these other things, I thought, well, then maybe that's something I should look into. So I just kind of started, like I said, then it was actually his Facebook group that he had at the time that he invited me to do a Facebook Live with Misty, who was running his group. And that's when it all just kind of happened. And I was like, okay, I guess I have an email list now. Oh, well, I guess I need to send some emails, you know, and just kind of going from there.
Right. I was so excited when you did that, by the way, because there were so few women in this space. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on a lot of email lists. Pretty much at the time, it was like 99% of them were men. There's just a couple of women copywriters who are doing what you do.
Well, there's a lot more that have come out along, which is great.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely. And I think that, it's interesting because initially it always seemed that a lot of people on my list are men, which is still is definitely dominated by men. It used to seem like only men were investing in courses or other, events that I would put on, things like that. But I'm just, or in my mentoring, and now it's like closer to 50-50 or, 60-40 anyway. So it's good to see more women, not just, getting into copywriting, or maybe they've always been in copywriting. But they're realizing that, hey, this is something that the better I can get at this, it's worth investing in myself. And I think that that's been, unfortunately, something that's held a lot of women back.
Right.
And the fact that we used to talk about that when I had the Girls Club Facebook group,
Right.
which I basically closed down because Marcella Allison came forth with her Tight Nights group, which then became Mentoress, and she was doing all these great things with it. And I wanted to support her. And I was like, I can't focus on an email list and a Facebook group and very different audiences. So I decided to focus on my email list. But yeah, it's just, I think I've always taken the approach of, when I decide to go to an event, or, like I literally was just on a workshop call right before this, what Justin Goff was putting on about growing your email list. And,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things he said that I'm already doing, I already know, but of course, sometimes you just rehear things, or you learn new things, or they get new ideas. So it was worth a few $100s and a few hours of my time to do that. And so no matter what level you're at, you want to keep investing in learning and growing and hearing other people's approaches. And you never know everything, and especially when you're starting out. I know it's hard because a lot of people have very tight budgets. But again, I feel like men are more likely to just whip their credit card out and buy something on the spot.
Yes.
Women will be more cautious. Like, oh, well,
Yes.
let me go think about it, or let me talk it over with my husband, or let me do this, and it's just the reality.
They'll buy, and I found this out long time ago. I was a dating coach for single
Uh-huh.
women over 40. And I was kind of in that whole uh, dating coaching world. And I noticed there were actually some dating coaches women who only worked with men, because it seemed like the same phenomenon almost, where
Yeah.
men would be willing to invest. So I didn't sell a whole lot of products. I had an ebook I sold, and I did have a live, like a live series that I uh, did in my town here,
Hmm.
where where women had to, to buy it and all that. But way too often I saw that over and over, how women were just so almost reluctant to do that, to spend any money on something that they really wanted,
Right.
which was love in their life. I was just like, yeah, it's like pulling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, but then women will spend money on other things, too. But
Right, right, right. Well,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, they'll like a lot of women will spend the money on the clothing, the makeup, the
Hmm.
jewelry, and all that. But then to actually like go beyond that, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
an interesting deal, because I know I've seen that too. But
Well,
I have a lot of questions.
okay, well, let's
Basically,
get to it.
yeah, I know, and I sent you a bunch of. I don't know if we'll get to all
I
these,
have the list right in front of me, but you can
but
just
let's start.
I
Let's
think
start.
we talked about, well, we can talk about number one. Why did I start Copy Insiders? But
Yeah,
I
why
talked
did you
about
start it?
how I kind of got thrown into the fire with having a list. So like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to have a list, right? And now I guess I have a lead magnet. Like I literally found this little training document on copywriting that I put together way back when I worked at a publishing company. And it was just sitting there on my hard drive. And I was like, well, let me turn this into a lead magnet. I mean, now I've moved on from there, but, it was like, okay, it was very seat of my pants. And then like after about 5 or 6 months, I decided, I'm going to have my first live event. I'm going to be out in LA going to a speaking training. So let me do this little 1-day boot camp. I did that at the last minute. I decided to hire a video crew, and then I turned it into a course. And so then I finally had something to sell my list. And, it just kind of went from there. So I didn't have a big grand plan. And then, it was around beginning of what was January 5th, 2018 was when I did my first issue of what I called Copy Insider. So I was already sending out emails with a lot of different value and tips and things like that. And I decided just to create this little weekly e-letter that I would send out, and it would have it had a little sub feature called What's in Kim's Mailbox, and where I would just basically, if I saw something in my email inbox or my physical mailbox and I thought it was an interesting promo, I would just have a few screenshots of it and talk about what I thought was working or what wasn't working and that kind of thing. And people just loved it. I mean, I've been at conferences where people come up like, oh my God, I love your What's in Kim's Mailbox or whatever.
Well,
And
I've never, oh my gosh, you went so granular with what it was you did. Because, and I know about, I mean, I used to be a Ben Settle email insider subscriber, whatever, the email player.
email players. Yeah, I still subscribe.
Yep. And so I know his system basically of putting out emails, and he's always promoting being more entertaining with just like edutainment, with just a little
versus
bit
a lot
about
of giving away value.
right. But you oh my gosh, you overgive in the value department. I mean, you share with people all the inside scoops of why something worked, what you did, how you got there. And for a lot of copywriters that, are starting out, or even those midway through, it's like gold what you're sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my devotees. And then I do sell things. I mean, I sell something probably 80% of the time at least. I mean, even if it's a Copy Insiders, I might have something in the PS. I mean, this week I've been doing what I call mindset weeks. First time I've ever done this. And each day I've had a special issue on a different mindset related topic. And I haven't really been selling anything. I've just been trying to get people to connect on social media and refer other, potential Copy Insiders to me and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was funny because at first I sort of felt like, I don't know, do I want to be selling, or are people going to be upset if I sell? And I think I get more engagement from my sales emails. I get fewer unsubscribes from my sales emails sometimes. It's really surprising.
That's
I'll have like a
interesting.
hand. I mean, they're usually pretty low anyway, like just a few, but
Right.
So funny. Like every day this week has been like maybe 4 or 5 people. I'm like, wait, what? I'm not even selling anything. But like I sell my sales emails out, I'll have 0 unsubscribes or 1. And I think, I think it's great because I think people should be welcoming getting sales emails from me, just like they should from anybody else who's a good marketer or copywriter, because you should be studying them.
Exactly.
And ideally, maybe they'll persuade you to buy something, but, at least look at it as, hey, this is how Kim does it. Right. And, but I do try to, in all of my emails, whether it's more of a value type email, like kind of building the relationship type email, or a sales email, I definitely try to get more of my personality into it. I share some of my stories. It's not just a strict sales pitch.
No, it's not. And that and that part of email marketing, bringing a little bit of your personality into it so that it's not just like a cut and dry deal, which, by the way, and I don't know how much we want to get into this because it would be a whole other interview actually, I think, but
Sure.
The whole AI thing, I've been testing it. I've been looking at it. I've been looking at the copy, and it's very cold, very sterile. The weak point of AI generated copy is there's no emotion. There just isn't. I mean, because it doesn't know how to do that really.
I mean, you can query it and you can get into frustrations, fears, desires, things, of a specific avatar for a product.
Right,
And you can kind of get some stuff out of it, but yeah, it still very much needs the human touch,
right,
from
right.
doing the right prompts to then taking what you have and then working with it. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
I know that I have friends who are like have their own businesses, like solopreneurs and stuff that are just like beyond excited about some of the time saving features
Right.
or just being able to generate a lot of stuff. And I think copywriters who do a lot of high volume type work, it could be useful for brainstorming. I guess my big caveat is, it's going to give you a pretty crappy first draft, and like even, with multiple prompts. And sometimes it could lead you just down the road of mediocrity,
Exactly.
versus if you just started from scratch with like an idea that came to you, like when you've already done your research and you're out walking the dog or taking a shower, because it's like where you get the best ideas, or driving, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And then you bring that to fruition.
Right.
I just don't think AI can beat that necessarily. I've
No,
not
and
seen
but
it.
yeah, and when I look at the stories that you share, I mean, these are personal stories,
Yes.
and the the magic is when you're able to connect that to a marketing lesson
Right.
or to whatever it is your offer might be. So, that's something that, yeah, I mean, because and that's what makes, I think, your emails enjoyable is because you are bringing all of you to the email.
And
You know?
that's what makes them fun to write. I
Yeah.
mean, like, yeah, I mean, and this morning I knew I was going to write about resilience and mental toughness. And then I had this incident I shared with you last night where I stopped to get gas after going to yoga. I was all relaxed. And then I was like cleaning trash out of my car. And I'm like, oh, I can just go over that gasoline hose. And of course, I tripped on it and fell hard on my knees. And so I shared that story. But, I
Right.
get back up, and, that's what we do. We fall down, we get back up.
That's
Right?
right.
And that's how we learn anything, writing a
It
book,
was a
right?
perfect intro, yeah, to
Yeah.
the whole the comparison to riding the bike.
Right.
It's like this is how we learn. You fall, you fail,
Hmm.
craft cold emails, whatever, and they don't perhaps get anywhere, but
Right. Right.
it is a step to getting better. It's like we have to go
Exactly.
through that process in order to improve.
Yeah. So they can be, a lot of people do this really well. I mean, I love reading entertaining emails. So it's not that you necessarily have to always give away a lot of value. I mean, you can, and people love that. But you're right. I think it's almost even more important that people are entertained by what they read,
Right.
because that's what we're looking for.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's a heck of a lot better to read something like that than like the boilerplate emails that we usually get. I mean, my inbox is filled with all these, hi, just wanted to touch base again, blah, 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 blah. We are
Yeah.
the
Yeah. The
premier.
chest pounding, it has nothing to do with me. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
anyway, okay.
Right.
I'm
I
gonna
had a
move on
robot
here.
write it.
Yeah. So, were there other business newsletters that you subscribed to that inspired you? Like as you were like starting to think about Copy Insiders and evolving it or developing it, I should
I
say.
mean, it really is just my own thing. I think at the time, gosh, it feels like such an eternity ago. We're only talking about 5 years ago. There's been a lot of other people getting into the whole copywriting niche, just in the last 5 years. I'm trying to think of who I was even reading back then. I mean, we mentioned Ben Subtle. I was reading his emails. And I think it's funny when I go back and read some of my 2017 ones, some of them sound a little Ben Subtle-ish and not so much like me. It was just kind of funny. It's like, no, I'm not the female Ben Subtle. Don't say that. So yeah, it took a little while to kind of find my voice and who am I and what does this come out to? You know what I mean?
Right.
There's others that I've been reading since, like Laura Belgray and Daniel Throssell. They both do very much more infotainment type approach to their email copy,
Right.
even though they're always, with every email they're selling something. So yeah, I take some inspiration from some of those folks, and but yeah, you got to find your own style. You can't just imitate somebody else. You've got to
Right.
figure out your own voice and be true to that, because that's what just makes it more fun and authentic.
Right. exactly. Yeah, I mean, you're putting your spin on things and people,
Yeah.
yeah, and they feel like they're getting to know you so that
Yeah.
if they ever did meet you at a conference, there's much more, it's sort of shortcuts that getting to know you phase. People will come up and, "Oh, I'm a subscriber and I loved it when you did this or when you
Yeah.
went,"
No,
you know.
I love when people do that. It's
Yeah,
fun. Yep.
yeah, that is.
Or somebody who's bought one of my courses. I mean, I had some people come up and just tell me like, oh my gosh, that blah, blah, blah course. I just got this $8,000 retainer. And, and it's just like, well, I didn't have my tape recorder going.
Yeah.
It's like, it's great. It's just great to hear, that you're making impact. Even today, the mindset one I sent out, someone responded back. She's actually a pretty well-known person. And she just like, I needed to hear this today. Thank you. I mean,
That
those
is so
types of
wonderful.
things are just like, okay, there's a reason why I spent an hour and a half doing this morning when I
Right.
should be working on XYZ. But hey, it makes it gratifying and fun.
Sure, absolutely. So, do you have a topic schedule? Like, how do you organize your email schedule? That's a big thing that I think holds a lot of people back from doing like a regular e-newsletter or regular emails. How do you
I mean,
plan?
I'll be honest, like 80, 90% of the time, I'm kind of winging it a little bit. I mean, I do plan out maybe roughly by week, maybe a month or two in advance, roughly like what I might be promoting in a particular week. But I don't have every single topic like mapped out. Um, I'd like to get to the point that I'm at least a few days. Sometimes I am a few days ahead, but that doesn't usually happen unless I've got like a vacation or something planned. Um, and I also kind of like it has to kind of be like that inspiration when it strikes too.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I've been pushing myself to do more of a daily email, although I decided, I was doing a daily one, I think every day this month. And on after Thursdays, last week, I said, okay, I'll be back at you next week. And I decided I'm not going to do on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I just had other things I needed to focus on,
Right,
and
right.
so it's fine. It's your thing. You get to choose,
That's
you know,
right. That's
that's what's
right.
great. I mean, you can do it as much or as little as you like.
Well, I mean, because you're so good at doing what you do, you might take it for granted how quickly and easily it comes together. Because
Yeah, I
there's
mean, I
some,
think for some of us it does come right. I'm already used to writing,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
it's a topic that I don't have to, I mean, if it's not coming to me, I just like, you know what, I'm not going to send out just a crappy email just to send something out.
Right.
Just
Yes.
either I'll rerun an old one. I mean, now I have 5, 6 years worth of stuff.
Yes.
So a lot of times I'll just say, hey, Copy Insider's flashback, because the ones on my blog only go back to beginning of 2021. And so, it's all fresh stuff. I have some people like you who've been with me for 5, 6 years. So then I have a lot of new people. So they've never seen that particular thing before. So,
Right.
I can rerun content.
Right. Right. I still can't believe how long it has been. My next question, I mean, I said 5 years, but I mean 6 years, whatever. It's a
Yeah,
long time. So
it
how have you
is.
stayed motivated to continue to publish?
That's a good question. I think it's because I started doing less client work so that I would have time to do this more. And I have found it, like I said, it's just more fun, it's more gratifying, it's easier than dealing with clients generally. I mean, I've had some really great clients over the years and some that I still work with, but you've done client work, you know what it's like. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
nice to just be your own client and sell your own stuff that you believe in. Or I sometimes will promote other people's courses or programs if I really believe in those and they complement what I have to offer. So it's just fun kind of being more in control of things.
Yeah.
And I have been able to gradually get more time for some of my personal projects. Like I finally just started my first screenplay last year.
Ooh,
It's still slow going, but I am doing an intensive workshop with a really great screenwriter. So I've been able to put some time aside to do that. So, again, like things like that or travel, things that I just want to have more time for. I definitely have more control over my life when I have my own email list and my own products, and I'm not worried as much about all these client projects on the side, which I was doing the juggle for quite a while, the first 2-3 years with this. And it just was like, I don't want to work this hard. It's just
Right.
too much,
Right.
It
Right.
was fine. I was like, when my kids were young, one of the great things about writing copy, especially the long form copy that I wrote for many years where I could have royalty potential and that kind of thing, is I would do maybe 5 or 6 big projects a year. And generally I'd work like from 9:15 a.m. to like 3 p.m. And that was it, and that was when I had my kids at school, and then I'd go pick them up, and then after that, I just did all the mom things and didn't even look at the computer, and it was like that for several years. And I just pinched myself that I was so lucky to be able to have that totally unachievable workplace balance that every
Right.
working parent, dreams of, right? And still
Right.
making 2 to 3 times or more what I was making when I left my very high paying job as a, in-house marketer. So it was great. I could take 3-4 weeks vacation with my family, whatever. Right. And then the kids got older, they're driving, they're off to college, and now they're, in their 20s. So it's kind of like, okay, around that time was when I was starting to get that, yeah, I kind of miss wearing my marketing hat. And I'm just always thinking about copy, right? And cranking out like yet another supplement control, which is great, but it's like, all right, what else is there? And so, yeah, this really appealed. And there was like the idea of, I think I said earlier, is, oh, I'll finally have time to write that screenplay that's been, in my head. But then that didn't happen because now I had this new thing on top of all the existing stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Plus, I
Right.
was
Right.
volunteering on the board of my kids', Montessori school and all these things, right? And I was
Right.
working on their camp work website for free and stuff. It's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
no, I mean, I was just like, why am I doing all these things? Like, where do I even have time to even think about a screenplay or children's books? I have children's books I want to write, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it wasn't like, it got to be too much. I was working nights, weekends, et cetera. I'm like, I don't want to work this hard. So something has to go here. And gradually just letting go of the client work, which is scary because that's been my bread and butter all these years.
Right. Right.
But shifting more into this, focusing on this, but then starting to have more time to do the things that Kim wants to get to because I'm not getting any younger, baby.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, what you described to me sounded like your why. This is, and it's important because a lot of people who get involved in copywriting or any really almost any profession, you want to be successful. And so you drive yourself. It's like, more and more and more. But when you have a family, all of a sudden, you realize, okay, I have a limited time
You do. It's
with
a
these
very limited
people.
time. And it feels like such a difficult time and it's never going to end. And it does end. It always, you know what I mean? They grow
Right.
up.
Right.
Like you're
Right.
in that toddler phase. It's like, guess what? You'll get to sleep again. Don't worry. It's going to happen,
That's
or whatever,
right. Right. And the kids
Yeah.
are going to grow up and leave and
Yeah.
start their own lives. And so you're not going to have as much time with them. But
Right.
it's, you
But
do.
your why changes over time. You're right. So what
Right.
I described is I had a why when I got into freelance copywriting,
Yeah.
which was, wait a minute, you mean I can work at home and I can make 3 times more than I'm doing, and I can work 20 hours a week, and I can have this time with my kids? Sign me up, baby.
Yeah.
So I went for it. And then it was like, wait a minute, I can have an email list and I can sell products and I can use my copy and my marketing know-how. Sign me up. But then it was like, wait a minute, I can't do both of these at the same time.
That's right.
So,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So
Yeah.
the shifting priorities, yes, you have to get back in touch with because they do change. And I think that that's a very good point that you raise is that your why, get in touch with your why. And it's not always going to stay static.
Right.
It's going to change.
That's right. That's right. Well, so what do you think that you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of all this?
When you talk about this, I mean like the
The
email
copy
list.
insiders and doing like, what do you know now that you wish you knew at the
Oh my
beginning of
Lord, so many
starting?
things.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be afraid to sell to your list. They signed up. They want you. They want more of you,
Right.
especially if you're already in like the marketing space or the copy space, and that's your audience. But even not,
Right.
if you're selling like guitar lesson training or photography, equipment or whatever it is. Like these are, maybe you have people in a specific hobby niche, right? Like they're insatiable for more stuff from you. And maybe they want to buy more equipment or get better at whatever it is that you're teaching them. I mean, it really applies to anything, right? Even if you're B2B, I mean, you have people on your list, maybe they want to, they want accounting advice for their small business. Like
Right.
they are always looking for solutions. Like, oh, you mean you've got something else that's going to teach me how to, find all these, tax loopholes or whatever it is, right? So, you come, I think it's important. And one of the things I learned working for the great Bob King, who was president of the consumer division at Phillips Publishing, I learned so many valuable lessons from him that apply to so much in business. But it's like you come from a place of service, and you think about your marketing that way and you're selling, like you're coming, from a place of service, and, always know about what that back end is, which is another big area that many business owners and marketers overlook, because it's like, how else can I serve you?
Right.
How else can I help you this goal that I've maybe started you on? Like I mean, I guess if you want to look at my funnel, I don't even really think about it that way, but it's like somebody gets onto my list, they get my free copy checklist, which I'll tell people how to get, which is really a pretty beefy it's actually 5 different checklists, right? From research to final editing of your copy and everything in between. So you get this nice meaty checklist, and then you start getting my nice meaty emails and even my sales emails, whatever. And maybe you decide to buy one of my courses, right? And then you're kind of just moved up the little pyramid, I guess, whatever. But then ultimately you might decide you want to mentor with me, right? So there's
Right.
a whole path. Some people just get to this point, right? Some people get
Right.
up here and
That's
and then
right.
they're soaring, they're off and doing great things and achieving their goals. So yeah, it's, come from a place of service and see it as that's what you're offering your people.
Right. Yeah, what you were describing reminded me of Dan Kennedy's ascension uh,
Yes.
blueprint, I guess, or approach where, you bring people in, some people just subscribe to the newsletter and that's it. That's all they ever want. But then
Right.
others will step up, buy a product, and then others will step up and then join one of the groups, mastermind groups. And yeah. So
Right.
having a lot to offer, I think, is important. There was a woman that I followed on LinkedIn, and she basically her deal is helping people to make money and get more business from LinkedIn. Well, I had a call and it was a sales call, and the woman I was talking to, I knew she was like an appointment setter type of thing or a sales setter, whatever.
Mhm.
And I said, let me just ask you something. What you're going to be selling to me, I'm suspecting it's like a 4-figure product, right? And she said, yeah. I said, do you have anything less than that? No. This was the only thing this woman was offering.
Right.
And my thought was, I am just getting to know you.
Right.
And for me, I do like those incremental
Right.
points where, okay, first maybe I'll buy a book or the newsletter or whatever. And as I get to know you, then yeah, I want more. But giving
Right.
choices to people, I think is really important.
Yes, I agree. But again, I don't want people listening to this think, well, if I can't have an email list, so I don't have anything to sell. I mean, I
Right, right.
just like threw myself in there. I didn't know. It's like I started getting people on my list, and I had this one event. It was only 10, 11 people. It was probably the first thing I sold my list, and then turned that into the course. But that was, I don't know, a good 8 or 9 months later, and it was still just the one product.
Right.
Wasn't even until maybe another year that I had another product. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
actually, I
yeah.
did a product in between. It was the easiest product I ever created. I've written all these different control promos, and everybody was always like, I noticed Carlene Anglais Cole, who also is one of my good friends, and she has a great email list. But she was selling her individual control promos as swipes for people to study. So
Uh-huh.
I just put together a big giant zip file with all these PDFs and started selling it for several $100s. And people were just like, couldn't buy it fast enough. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that is
Because
crazy.
people would write me, because I was selling them individually. I don't know which one of your joint supplement promos to buy. And I was just like, oh my God. So I just did this buy them all swipe file and just made it a great offer.
I
And
love it.
it really worked well. And it
Oh
was
my
when the
gosh.
whole Pokemon thing was big. I don't remember this. My kids were teenagers then, and it was something like, gotta get them all, gotta find them all, whatever it was,
Right, right, right.
they'll
Yeah.
kind of use a little Pokemon thing.
Well, they become,
Gotta
yeah,
buy them all.
it's the collectible thing. I used to do
Exactly.
Pampered Chef a long time ago, and Pampered Chef, it's the same thing. It's like every season they would come out and they would put an addition to something. And but you going back to what you were saying about, if you don't have anything to sell, what most people are doing is selling themselves.
Right.
So, talking about things like whatever it is you're good at doing, like if you are a photographer and you want to sell courses, but you don't have a course maybe yet,
Mhm.
selling your expertise or basically highlighting that. I should phrase it that way, in your email. I mean, because you're selling one way or the other, something is being communicated and sold, you know? And it could
Right.
be
Yeah.
your
I mean, you definitely
expertise
have
or
to constantly kind of, not constantly, because that would be annoying, but you do have to remind people maybe of your expertise or your
right,
authority or why maybe they should listen to you and that kind of thing. And again, without being a braggart or annoying.
right.
And yeah, but I mean, I think some people are look at this stuff too as like, maybe how do I sell myself? And I think one of your questions, or maybe I'm just anticipating a possible question, has this helped sell me as a copywriter to clients?
Yes,
Um,
yeah, that is one of the
it's
questions.
weird, not really. I mean, I think I've had a few inquiries here and there. But I think I think if anything, potentially I wouldn't say it's hurt me, but I think people think either I'm not doing copywriting anymore, which is almost kind of true now, or they think that, oh, she must be so crazy expensive. I could never afford her, which again, for some people, it might be true. But yeah, and it kind of reminds me, and I know this is really kind of old school thinking, but I mean, back when I worked at Phillips Publishing, we would, they worked with only like for their acquisition promos, the ones that were really their bread and butter, for their business, the big magalogs and that kind of thing. I mean, nobody wrote those in house. They would hire the very best freelance copywriters, like the Gary Bensavengas or the Clayton Makepeaces, and those at that level. And so like if there were copywriters that were going around like speaking at conferences or doing blogs or stuff, like we'd kind of look at them like, oh, they must not be very good, because it's like they have time to write this stuff. And again, this is when, I mean, the Gary Bensavengas or even the Deannas of the world or whoever,
Mhm.
I mean, they would get like one big winner with Phillips and they could make, several $100,000 or more from a promo. So it's like, why would you spend your time? And this is kind of how I was, for several years as a copywriter. And I'd literally be booked out a year in advance. And then I told you I was doing hey, I just want to work like 5 hours a day and I want to, do all the mom stuff with my kids or take vacations. And, I was like, why would I write articles on the side? Like, why would I
Right,
do that? Like, I'm literally booked a year in advance.
right.
And even when I would sometimes do cold outreach, even because I just was like, that looks like an interesting client, or I'm kind of bored with the current people or whatever, I just would get crickets, even as a highly established copywriter. So I don't know, but I know that that's the thing now. Like people are out there on LinkedIn all the time and they're posting this and posting that. But I still got to wonder, it's like, if you're also doing client work, like that should be where you're making most of your money, right? If you're
Right,
good at what you
exactly.
do.
Right.
So I don't know. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure on people to do that. I mean, I just flew under the radar for many, many years. I mean, my big thing was getting out to some masterminds, going to conferences and events. I'd go to at least 2 to 4 a year.
Right,
It wasn't like a complete hermit, but that's where I would like meet other contacts and meet potential clients. And I mean, that still is my best advice. If you can do it, that
right.
is the best way. And also obviously your referral network, people you used to work with, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. letting
That's what
everybody know, hey, I'm a copywriter now, or whatever it is that you're doing. Hey, I consult with people on their photography, whatever your deal is. Like, let everybody know that you're doing that. It's amazing how many different people will refer you. So yeah, I don't know. Like, and again, I'm reposting a lot of my content on social media and doing that, but it's all about me getting more people on my list. So it's for
right.
my business. But if I was full-time freelance copywriting, I'd be hopefully so booked up, I'd just be busy doing that and maybe getting out to some conferences to schmooze other clients and find other high-end clients that could afford me. And but yeah, my email list has not done that. I think maybe people think, and like I said, they'd be right now anyway, that I'm not really just taking on like any old client these days. So
Right. Well, I get a
I mean,
kick
not that
out
I
of how,
was, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I get a kick out of how sometimes you include this little aside of, like, these are the clients you want to avoid. And
Yeah. Oh yeah, believe me, I have a long list of the bad clients, and in many cases that was a close call. I'm glad I, dodged that bullet,
right,
right?
right,
Because
right.
you got to look
Yeah,
for those red flags.
exactly. That's why I was wondering if by you being so transparent and honest about that, if that weeded out some of the red flag
I
clients.
think so, but that's good. That's
Yeah,
good. But yeah, I think in general, I mean, I think it's a good thing for copywriters. I mean, everybody wants to put themselves out there now and be an expert. And I have to kind of laugh, like sometimes there's people been like, I guess because I've been doing this so long, I would think, oh, really? Like you started 3 years ago and now you're out there. You're like the coach and the expert. And it's like, wait a minute. But again, I think there are things that are valuable that you can learn from people like that. Like,
right,
don't come to me and say, Kim, how do I use LinkedIn and cold outreach for finding clients? Because I literally haven't looked for clients in like 30 years pretty much, or 20 some years, right?
right,
Because once I started getting, known for being good, like the clients just came to me.
right.
And
Well,
then all these other things came along, like that was all before LinkedIn and everything else. So
right.
I am
Well,
not the person to ask for that, but I will give you great advice on client, avoiding bad clients, negotiating, closing clients, whatever, all those other things that just don't change. But, there are some things that maybe you do need to go to these young guns and learn from.
well, what you were just describing really was a good referral system. First, be really,
Right.
really good. Yeah, so that
Right.
people do talk about you, you
Be
know?
so good they can't ignore you. That's a Steve
Exactly.
Martin quote. Yeah.
I love that quote too. In fact, I think I've got the book by Cal Newport, and I still haven't cracked it open, but it's
Yeah.
something along that theme, being
Okay.
so good they can't ignore you. And when you do a really great job, and I know I've got a book by Dan Kennedy about referrals,
Yeah. Yeah.
how to
Referrals
take,
are huge. They
they
carry
are, and
so
how to
much
take advantage.
power.
Yeah,
I mean, when someone, especially, it depends on too, like, if you have a fairly high level person refer you, a client to you, like they just come ready to hire you. You just name your price. It's like done is done and done.
right.
There's none of this haggling or trying to, well, the reason I charge a higher rate is because I do all this. It's just like, name your price, baby. They're ready to roll.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And getting testimonials
Yeah.
from the people that are happy with what you've
Yeah.
done.
Yeah,
That's
that helps a lot. It helps a lot. It's just amazing. Like it's all important to have the website with all the stuff. So many people don't even go to that. It's it's the face-to-face, meetups, it's the referrals, or the best part is when you combine the two and you're at an event and you're talking to somebody and then somebody comes up like, oh my God, you got to meet Kim. She's this really great copywriter. And then boom. It's like referral and in-person meeting at the
Yep,
same time.
yep.
It's
It's
perfect.
like I was just listening to a few weeks ago to what it was like a video of Dan Kennedy. He was talking about Walt Disney or Disney World because he loves Disney World and Disneyland and how they operated. And he was saying that these people had these t-shirts that they had been on a Disney cruise, and they just stood there, and people, like 4 people, were coming up to them asking them about, how did they like it. And these people were essentially selling the cruise
Right. They were like the
line, you know?
ambassadors in a way, just like the
Yeah,
t-shirt you have on.
yeah,
The
exactly.
insiders. Yes. You're
Exactly.
an ambassador now.
That's right. That's right. But the point is that it's that word of mouth again,
Right.
that this is what people respond to. I mean, a lot of people could see an ad maybe in a magazine about those cruises, but what
Hmm.
really probably sold them on doing is actually talking to somebody.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's a brilliant idea. It's really
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on. I don't know if I'll be able to get to all my
It's
questions. I'm trying
okay.
to
You
zip
know,
through. Um,
we can go rogue too if you have
yeah,
another one
we
that just
can go
comes to
rogue.
mind.
Well, what are some tips maybe that you could share with those who are wondering about how to get started with their own e-newsletter or, the regular email schedule? Like any thoughts, tips that you could give would probably be really appreciated.
Well, I would just get a really crystal clear on who your email list is for, like who is your target prospect,
That's good.
and then brainstorm some kind of lead magnet that you can give them. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a report. It could be a free course. It could be a free video. It could be, any number of things. But what would be something good that someone could sign up for, that you ask for their email address for, and then they get, and it's something that's going to help you find the right prospect, and maybe a more qualified prospect, right? Maybe something a little more specific. It's
Right.
going to help you find. It's funny because I was just on this great workshop that my friend Justin Goff put on. But you might want to find people who aren't just necessarily looking for some generic freebie, but maybe have a proven interest in something, or have a desire to maybe spend money on a particular topic. Like,
Right.
for example, somebody who maybe is already playing music or guitar, having some kind of specific lead magnet, how to do this X whatever it is with your guitar, which would call out people who already play guitar rather than people who just dream about doing it, but they'll probably never actually do it, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, so, have a lead magnet that's going to target specifically your desired prospect. And then think about, I mean, at some point, and I don't even do this right now, you could monetize them right away, but you don't have to. I think when you're just starting out, you really want to focus on growing your list and building that relationship with your subscribers. So then you might want to have a welcome email, obviously giving them, oh, here's the thing I promised to give you, right? You got to do that. And then you can either have a few more emails after that to kind of bring them into your world, or you can just kind of put them right out into your world. I mean, I've seen like Ben Settle kind of does it that way. I kind of do it that way. And then just try to email them at least a few times a week. I mean, you don't have to do it every day. I mean, I initially was just doing once a week generally.
Right.
And we do what seems like when you have something you want to share, or and just kind of feel it out. Do some surveys now and then. What was great about having that Facebook group initially, even though it was just women, I was able to just kind of get in touch with who are the people that are reading me every week. But a Facebook group can be a lot of work to maintain, and I
Yes.
told you I walked away from it, and there were other reasons I walked away from it. But you don't have to have that. But I would just have some quick and dirty little surveys you send out, or ideally, one thing I do, and this gets your email delivered, it helps increase your deliverability rates, is when they first opt into your list, meaning they give you your email, and then you send them that first welcome email, and here's the free report that you wanted, and you have like a little link where they can download it. And please reply back, and what's your number one concern when it comes to playing guitar, or whatever your list is about, or when it comes to being a freelance copywriter, or whatever it is. And I have that in my welcome email, and I get a lot of engagement just out of the get-go from people replying to that. And then I start to see, like, okay, like lots of people are concerned about finding clients, or people are having trouble with this or that. So I'm just saying, you'll just start to learn. Don't let not having this perfect plan and schedule and everything else, or how am I going to monetize this or whatever else, don't let that hold you back. Just kind of get out there and start dipping your toe in the water and doing it, because that's going to teach you so much, and you're going to get so many different ideas. And you may even go like, if you know what I mean, you won't be hemmed in by this preconceived idea that I have to do it a certain way. Just learn from it.
Right, right. I always tell people, because I love marketing so much and I love email marketing. I tell people experiment. Just, have
Right,
fun with it. Don't
right.
don't think that something's written in stone, and if something doesn't work, you can always shift. Try
Exactly.
something that.
That's how you learn, and you just keep going. And the main thing is just build that audience, give of yourself, put yourself, be authentic in your emails, share your stories,
Right.
um, be generous, and,
Yes.
and
And you are
and go
very
from there.
generous.
Well, thank you.
I mean, my gosh, the expertise that you have and all the things that you share is just amazing. I just my hat is off to you. My
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's just so nice to hear. And again, if you think that's good, wait till you get one of my products, right? But
Yeah,
it's
right,
true,
right.
because like
Yeah.
my programs are not inexpensive, but I go really deep and I give a lot in the programs. And yeah, I mean, this is sort of like the what do you call it? Like you're in a fancy French restaurant and they give you the little it's on the tip of my tongue, like the little it's like a sample morsel. It's like a French
Oh,
word.
hors d'oeuvre,
It's not even an hors d'oeuvre. It's a
like an appetizer?
yeah, it's like a freebie from the kitchen, right? And they bring it
Oh,
out.
okay, okay.
Yeah, and you just put it in front of you and you're like, ooh,
Right,
kind of
right, right.
like
Yeah, you get a little
anticipating,
taste.
and so yeah, it's kind of like that in a way, you serve up these morsels and it kind of makes people hungry for more potentially.
Exactly. It's the long time ago, there was another marketer, it might have been Sonia Simone, who was talking about the Baskin Robbins, the pink
Ah,
spoon, that when you would go to Baskin Robbins and they would,
yeah, yeah, you
you
get the
know,
little, let me have a
like give you a
taste of
little
this.
pink spoon of whatever the
Then you have
flavor.
like 5 or 10 scoops. You're like, okay, I'm full. I'll see you later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy anything, but thanks for the ice cream.
Yeah,
Oh
you
my
will have
God.
people like that. You will have people who just take and take and
Oh
consume and
yeah,
never buy. And that's fine. But sometimes people will be on your list for 4 or 5 years. Sometimes people will buy something big right out of the gate.
right.
It all kind of just evens out.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Well, the next question I want to ask is actually because since you're kind of like in this groove anyway about mindset,
Yeah.
and this is actually one of my favorite topics also because it's so big, that affects everything, like for freelancers, for solopreneurs, business owners, is having that mindset. So how does that relate to creating an e-newsletter, or does it? Having like a
I think you have to believe
positive.
you have something valuable to share with
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
And again, I don't think you have to be a grizzled veteran like me. I mean, like I said, I was kind of joking about all these emerging experts, but like I said, there's a young man I know, for example, who got into copywriting at like 16. He's probably like all of 23 now. And he coaches and mentors other copywriters, but he became a very successful copywriter very quickly.
Yeah,
And so he has something of value there to share with people, you
right.
know. Um, it could be a whole different field. Like maybe you've been through a serious loss of a child or something and you kind of got through it. I mean, I know of a woman that maybe you know too, and she's done some things with building a list and coping and helping people cope, and that's like, I mean, there's so many different things in between. I'm just giving some examples, but you probably have, whatever this topic is that you want to do your emails about and that you have some kind of expertise in, like you have something of value to share with people that can help people. And
Right.
so, feel like you have something that's valuable to say, and then again, you'll get that, build in little feedback loops like, hey, I'd love to hear back. I've been doing that on all my emails this week, for example, like, what works for you with overcoming writer's block or,
Right.
things like that. And, you get some engagement, but you do get that feedback loop like, wow, I really needed to hear this today. And you're like, yeah, cool,
Have
and it
you
keeps
ever
you motivated to write again tomorrow. Now I have something
right.
else to say because I'll help some other person.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Have you ever, I don't know if you've address this, but it's something that I've addressed a little bit when I talk to people about email marketing, and that is getting over your fear of unsubscribes. That,
Oh,
sometimes I've come across people who are like, "Oh, I don't wanna email every day. I don't wanna email too much because people will unsubscribe." I've even
I
had
mean,
clients say that to me.
I
So,
mean, it's true. Sometimes the more you email, you will get more unsubscribes sometimes, but it's just because maybe those weren't the right people to begin with. And
right.
you know what I mean? So then they're more likely to, because not everybody's going to read every single email you send, believe it or not. I mean, there's so many lists I'm on that I don't open them every single time,
Right.
even though I like their emails or whatever. So you might end up one day and somebody's like, oh yeah, why am I getting these? Or, oh, this isn't really the right thing for me or whatever. And guess what? They weren't the right fit for your list. They probably were never going to buy from you
Right.
anyway.
That's right.
Adios, amigo.
That's
But
right.
yeah, it is funny. And I do still look at it, even though you're not. And they'll be like, oh, you. And then sometimes I was having dinner with Kara Hug, who is the co-founder of the Copywriter Club, and her business partner, Rob Marsh. And I know these people really well. And so I was having dinner with her that night. And I'm like, yeah, I sent this email and I saw Rob like unsubscribed. And we were like having this laugh about it. And then I reached out to him and he's like, oh, I had like 2 or 3 emails subscribed to your list. So I just unsubscribed from one of them. I still get your emails. And it's like, okay, all right,
Nice save,
okay,
Rob.
buddy. We're still friends. But yeah, I mean, you can't take it personally.
Right.
Sometimes I'm just having a bad day. I mean, I unsubscribe some stuff sometimes. It's like, you know, you can't worry about it. And I mean, unless you're really screwing up, like it's usually such a teeny tiny percentage. Like, just don't worry
Exactly.
about it. They are opting out because they were not the right people for you.
Right. Or they got whatever value they got and decided that they wanted to go in another direction, you know?
Maybe, yeah, maybe they've completely changed gears, or who knows. But
Right, right. There's
yeah,
lots of different reasons,
there's
but
a
yeah,
lot of
you're
reasons. We
right.
can't sit there, and you can't take it personally. That's
That's right.
and
That's
sometimes
right.
it's just better you get rid of those people in the first place, because
That's right.
ultimately you end up having to pay for more names. Your
That's
list
a
reach
very good
certain
point.
thresholds. Like when I start to bump against this next threshold and my rate's going to go at $50 a month, I might, I'm going to be like, who should I get rid of?
Yeah, right, right, right.
You haven't opened my emails in a while.
Well, actually, now that I think of it, there have been some lists that I was automatically taken off, I guess
Mhm.
because I wasn't engaging enough.
Right.
And I do
Right.
realize that
Yes. And that's
there's a
important
lot
to
of
do just
emails.
for list hygiene and deliverability and everything else.
Right, right. Yeah.
But if you're just starting out, don't worry about that. And don't worry about the unsubscribes.
Right.
Sometimes people
Amen.
hit the button by mistake and they'll write back like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to unsubscribe. Can you add me again?
Add me back
Like,
on.
sorry, you hit it. No, it's gonna happen. Look, I'm not like a Ben Subtle, like,
I
sorry.
was just gonna say, yeah, what's your own Ben's list? That's it.
That's more for his subscribers for his paid newsletter. Yes.
So, okay, finally, I'm just gonna jump to the last question, which is, what question do you wish I'd asked, and can you address it now?
Um, Maybe what else would I rather be doing?
Oh, okay, what else would
I
you
don't
rather
know.
be doing? You mean now?
Yeah, like I'd like to get a full body massage, especially on my knees. No.
My gosh.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think I need to find a hot tub. Um, Yeah, well, so I am, like I said, I'm trying to carve out time to work on some of my personal writing projects. I'm also trying to make more time to just, get more exercise, because so much of what I do is sitting, sitting, sitting.
right,
Um, but I've also thought about starting up a whole new thing just on a whole different topic, because
oh,
as much as I love copywriting and I love that I've been able to impact so many people and help them get better at copywriting or their business or whatever it is that they want to achieve, sometimes it's like, yeah, I've been like thinking and doing this for so long, right? And what else is
right.
there? So I do have some ideas about some possible businesses or a business. I'm not going to start more than one, but that I might segue to that would combine some of my passions and some of my past experience. And that's, again, one of the great things about understanding copy and understanding marketing, is that you can do those kinds of things
That's
because you
right,
you got the skill set.
right.
I'm in this right now. I'm in this increasingly very crowded, narrow niche. of copywriting training, right? There's so many people, like I said, everybody and their brother now has a mentoring group or a course or this or that. And yet it's a very specific, limited audience. And so I've thought about doing something else kind of in the health area, which has been my area of passion for many years, and maybe starting my own products, email lists, etc. for that. So that is something I may very well be shifting to. It could even be sometime this year. So keep an eye out for that. And so of course, if you join my list, I'll probably write about it as well, because I think it's, again, it's something that I think, a lot of people are interested in doing with their skill set.
Right. Well, you're very good with, I think, with helping women and encouraging women and informing them of different things that, that will make our lives better,
Right. I think it's
improve our
always
lives.
been important for a woman, no matter, what kind of great relationships she's in or whatever. It's like, you kind of always have to have your own thing,
Right.
And
Yes.
maybe part of it is for financial security, or maybe it's just for you, right? What is your thing?
I
Right?
think, yeah.
Because we're so focused on taking care of everybody else. I mean, I
Yes.
spent a lot of time the past year with my mom having a lot of serious health issues, and now she's in a much better place. But man, that was a lot. You know what I mean? A lot to deal
Right.
with. And it does fall to the daughters, unfortunately,
Yeah.
I'm the only daughter. So, but yeah, we have a lot of things we do. A lot of people we take care of, and we don't always take care of ourselves. So, yeah, I think it's important to have your thing, and part of it is the financial part of it too.
Right. Well, it's in the creativity. I was mentioning this to, actually, it was John Ford, Ford with an E on the end. He was
Yes.
with AEWAI, and he was telling me, sharing with me that he lives in France with his family. I looked at him, and it was just something that, I don't know, just something reminded me or clicked with this. But I said, by chance, are you an artist? Like a painter. He looked at me and he said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. And I told him, I said, I really have not yet met, to this day, somebody who's creative, who is a writer, who doesn't also have another creative outlet that they're pursuing. So
Right.
it could be art, it could be poetry, it could be like you with screenplays, it could be photography. I love photography. My husband's much better at it than I am, but I've learned a lot over the years through his training and just doing things on my own, finding out other people who are good at photography. But yeah, it's like that's important to find those spots because they can always contribute in some way to what you're already doing, or it just might open up a whole new, avenue for you.
It could. But I think, again, I mean, when you have an email list and it's about a topic that you really do feel passionate about. And like I said, I do feel passionate about helping people get better at copy and, getting all the benefits out of being a freelance copywriter or their own boss, basically as an entrepreneur. I get a lot of, just all the different stories I've shared with you. Obviously, I get a lot of, good stuff out of that. In terms of satisfaction, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So yeah, so again, it helps you really enjoy what you're doing more in life. So it could be that it is that creative pursuit on the side, but ideally the main thing you're doing day in and day out is bringing you that kind of satisfaction. I mean,
Right.
that's the ideal, I think.
Yes, I do too. Well, that's a good note to end the recording. So I might want to ask you something after I stop
I
the
do
recording.
want to tell people how they can become copy insiders.
Absolutely. I
So
almost forgot
it's
that.
very easy. You can go to copyinsiders.com and you'll see this beautiful little page where you can get my gorgeous copywriters checklist for free. Or you can go to kimschwalm.com. You can also get it there, and you can check out, just find out more about me and check out my different trainings, etc. And that's kimschwalm.com, KIMSCHWALM.
Yes. And I'm going to have links. So wherever I end up putting this, I definitely will put links to go to wherever and
go to those wonderful places on the
and get more
internet.
info and get on your list.
Yes.
Because it's I love your emails.
Well, thank you.
I think they're one of the best I've seen. And I think you even got a shout out, I think, from Gary Bensavenga on them, didn't you? Isn't he?
Yeah, no, he's on my email list.
Yeah.
And he wrote me an email. Gosh, I think I have the quote on that page, that how much he loves my emails and he's glad he's not competing with me. He's actually a friend. My husband and I saw him in New York a year and a half ago.
Oh,
He took
wow.
us to dinner with his wife and his
Oh,
business
how
partner
wonderful.
and
That
his
would be
business
so
partner's
special.
wife. And he was telling me how much it almost bothers him that my subject lines are so good, as he put it, because then he just has to open them,
I love it.
which was such incredibly high praise
Oh,
from
that
Gary
is. It
Pennsylvania.
is. Did he give you a bottle of olive oil? Did he bring any of his
Well,
olive
I'm
oil?
already in his club. I'm already a paid
Oh, okay.
subscriber.
I need to join his club because I
It's
love to cook.
fabulous. It's really great stuff. And
Yeah,
it's just, yeah, but he's just one of the nicest people you could ever hope to meet. He really is.
he seems like that, from the time because I remembered when Brian Kurtz had his, um, Titans,
Event, yes.
event, he
Yeah.
spoke at it, and I just really liked what he said,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. He doesn't, I wish he would get out and speak more, but he just kind of does his business. And he's also part of my inspiration, by the way. I mean, I was at that last question about what is it that you want to be doing? I mean,
right,
he gave me advice years back where he's like, one of the best things you can do is, when you segue out of copywriting is just start a business, something it's just your hobby or passion or something you just really enjoy and make a business out of it.
right. Yeah,
So,
exactly, because we have the tools.
yes,
What we're
exactly.
yeah, I mean, what you're able to do is what so many small business owners, when they do start a passion, they don't know.
Right.
And I mean, we had in town here, some woman started a pie company, loved to make pies, but she never really got a hold of the whole marketing aspect of it,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
That can
And then
really, yeah, it can hamstring you and you don't have the money to hire consultants necessarily or copywriters
right.
even.
Yeah, and the other one was my chiropractor, which I was really bummed out about. And I mean, he knew what I did for a living, and I tried to talk to him about email marketing, and he just never followed through with it. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
he's sending out these desperate emails, "Would you like to come in for anything?" And I'm
Oh
like,
no.
"Uh-oh."
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to watch those things. But yeah, I'm
yeah,
not the same age now that Gary was when he retired from copywriting and he started to go do this whole olive oil business. So I'm kind of like, like I said, I'm feeling a little inspired to maybe try something new.
that's right.
But I'm
That's
still going
great.
to keep doing the copy insiders for the foreseeable future. So
Good, good,
please get
good,
on my
good.
list if you
So
want.
who knows? We may be looking, down the road at a 10-year anniversary then.
We could be.
Yeah.
Never say never. It could. I
Oh.
had no idea. I can't believe it's been more than 6 years already. So
I know. I can't either. That's crazy. Well, people, you need to, anybody watching this, if you want to learn more about email marketing and how it's done right, please get on Kim's list because she does it right for
well,
sure.
thank you so much, Mary Rose. Thank you for
You're
having me here. It's so good to catch up with you and have this wonderful
yes.
conversation.
It was good too. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording and everybody watching, have a good day.